Well, it was, late at night, about 1:40 in the morning. I was just sitting on my bed watching TV, and I heard an old-fashioned alarm going off, just a little metal on metal, and peeked out my window and saw that the apartment complex was starting to catch fire. There was a lady hanging out of the window, not hanging, but leaning out, screaming for help. She left the window for a second, came back, and realized they couldn't go downstairs. The walkway was on fire. Their only escape route was the back window. And she held one of her kids out of the window and dropped her kid, and I caught him. And then she held her other kid out the window, her daughter, and dropped her, and I caught her. She followed her kids out of the window, and I was able to not so much catch her as break her fall, right? And she ended up with a broken foot, but that was the worst of all of the injuries, was the broken foot. And then her friend came out the window after her also, and I was able to break her fall, and her friend had no injuries. There was an elderly couple in the apartment next to them, closer to the main heat of the flames, and they noticed a ladder on the ground right behind me. So I propped the ladder up against the apartment, and they both came down off the ladder, and the second one down actually suffered pretty severe smoke inhalation. So, if it had been a minute later, it might have been a completely different story. Honestly, I wasn't really even thinking. It was kind of just going on instinct. I was just acting, not really thinking about what could happen to me. It was just these people needed help. There was no one else there at this time. The fire department hadn't even come yet. I could hear the sirens, but they weren't there yet. I had to do what had to be done, I'm just glad I was able to help these people. I went over in the morning and looked at the front side, and it was utterly destroyed. The walkway, which was their only escape route other than the windows, was gone. It was burnt. There were, I want to say, 6 or 7 cars, nothing left but frame. It took some time for me to get back to normal, because it was like a stressful, intense situation, and I've never really experienced anything like that before. There was a lady who came down off the ladder, and later the next day I had ran into her because they were looking at the damage of the apartment, and she said, had I not been there, she could have had a completely different outcome. She definitely said that I saved her life. But it felt really good to know that I actually had a really big impact on these people's lives. They're all very grateful for, my ability to be there and do what I did.